Following World War II, the modified automobile emerged in American cinema as a potent symbol of public anxiety. In the 1950s, films featured teenagers in souped-up street roadsters, turning the car into a literal engine for youth rebellion and juvenile delinquency. By the 1970s, that moral panic evolved into something more grounded. The hot rod transformed into an emblem of working-class counterculture, with on-screen gearheads wrenching real Hemi engines to assert their muscle against corrupt local establishments. This era of extreme automotive spectacle gave rise to a very specific archetype, the American Daredevil. These performers strapped themselves into high-octane machinery to cheat death in front of roaring crowds, which makes the protagonist of the 2007 film Hot Rod so glaringly out of place. Rod Kimble is an unemployed suburban slacker whose vehicle of choice is an AMF pedal start moped that struggles to hit neighborhood speed limits. Decades of cinematic history built the hot rod into a symbol of pure masculine power. Director Akiva Schaffer and The Lonely Island took that framework and hollowed it out, placing an accident-prone man-child dead center in a legendary stuntman mythos. Rod's adult life is entirely dominated by his stepfather, Frank. To assert his authority, Frank subjects Rod to brutal, weekly hand-to-hand combat sessions in their backyard, fights that Rod loses immediately and embarrassingly. This physical hierarchy is disrupted when Frank suffers a severe heart attack. The doctors reveal his only chance of survival is a heart transplant, but the family insurance won't cover the required $50,000. Faced with a ticking clock, Rod formulates a plan. He decides to organize the largest stunt of his non-existent career, launching his moped over 15 school buses to raise the exact $50,000 through ticket sales. Instead of stepping up to save a parent out of love, Rod is saving Frank purely to ensure he can eventually beat him in a fair fight. If Frank dies now, Rod loses his only chance to regain his dignity through physical combat. To execute this massive logistical feat with exactly zero capital, Rod rallies his loyal, equally incompetent crew, acting as his stunt managers and hype men. This team includes Dave, a highly cynical childhood friend who operates perpetually on edge, and Rico, an aggressive, volatile pyromaniac who applies questionable math to the construction of scrap metal ramps. Together, they embark on a series of disastrous attempts to scrounge up the cash. They try jumping over kiddie pools filled with hazards and take on terrible local odd jobs and even host a community march that rapidly devolves into a full-scale public riot. Rather than scoring these bumbling efforts with wacky comedy music, the filmmakers blanketed the movie in earnest 1980s arena rock from bands like Europe, alongside an intense, sweeping orchestral score from composer Trevor Rabin. The production treats Rod's bumbling idiocy with a level of orchestral gravitas usually reserved for Olympic biopics. By refusing to wink at the camera, the film allows the massive distance between the heroic music and the actual failure to speak for itself. Despite their efforts, the team falls tragically short of the $50,000. Pushed to the brink and desperate for a financial breakthrough, Rod decides to attempt a completely unsanctioned, wildly dangerous jump from a towering industrial crane. It goes exactly as poorly as a viewer might expect. Rod wildly miscalculates the distance, misses his landing mattress entirely, and suffers a catastrophic crash. Battered and humiliated, reality finally breaks through his delusions. Rod accepts that he is nothing more than an amateur failure, gives up on the bus jump, and officially quits the stunt game. While he sits at rock bottom, his crew and his mother gently intervene. They strip away the stunt bravado and remind him that underneath the ridiculous jumps, his core intention, risking his own safety to save a life, remains noble. By playing this beat with complete sincerity, the film anchors its absurd premise in the structural weight of a classic sports drama. The narrative mechanics function exactly as they would in a traditional underdog story, providing a grounded counterweight to the movie's earlier surrealism. This renewed purpose leads to the day of the main event. A massive local crowd fills a stadium parking lot, flanked by news crews and his loyal team, all gathered to watch a man on a moped stare down 15 school buses. Rod rockets down the scrap metal ramp at top speed, launches into the air, and time slows to a crawl as he impossibly and gracefully sails over the entire fleet, sliding to a triumphant halt on the other side. The crowd erupts. The stadium ticket sales easily cross the $50,000 threshold, and Frank receives his fully funded, life-saving heart surgery. Sometime later, a fully recovered Frank is sitting outside. Rod approaches him, steps into a fighting stance, and delivers a hard, cathartic right hook that knocks his stepfather flat on his back. The moment Frank regains consciousness, his arrogance is replaced by a begrudging, genuine respect. Rod has finally spoken his stepfather's language, earning validation through the very physical combat that once defined his abuse. This chart tracks the immediate aftermath of the movie. When Hot Rod first hit theaters in August 2007, mainstream audiences didn't know what to do with it. The film grossed just $14 million against a $25 million budget and was broadly dismissed by critics, landing a 39% rating. But the filmmakers refused to compromise their specific brand of weirdness to appeal to the masses. Over the following years, driven by home video sales and digital streaming, viewers discovered the film's precise pacing and tone, fueling a steady rise to cult classic status. Ultimately, Hot Rod suggests that the legacy of cinematic rebellion is found in an unwavering, hyper-sincere dedication to a single ridiculous idea. It proves that the most enduring stunt a filmmaker can pull is total commitment to the bit.